Liquidated damages. Liquidated damages are an amount of money agreed upon between the parties in advance of the work to be performed under the contract that establishes the amount of money or other damages that may be recovered if one of the parties breaches or violates the agreement. This amount is meant to be a best estimate of actual damages and most often used when the actual damages resulting from a breach would be difficult or impossible to prove. Liquidated damages typically apply to a specific type of contract violation, and in construction contracts are often seen as the remedy for failure to complete the construction work on time. To be enforceable, a liquidated damages clause in a contract must meet certain criteria, including the following. A court is more likely to enforce a liquidated damages clause in a contract when actual damages, such as lost income due to the unauthorized disclosure of trade secrets, are extremely difficult to prove. This is because these types of damages are hard to track or hard to calculate, and therefore almost impossible to know with certainty. The amount you decide on as damages in your liquidated damages clause should never be wildly disproportionate to the actual harm suffered as a result of the breach. Courts typically look at what was reasonable when the contract was entered into, as opposed to what ends up being reasonable at the actual time of the breach. However, this is not an absolute, as sometimes the courts do consider what's reasonable at the time of the breach. Courts often also consider the bargaining power of each of the parties when deciding if the liquidated damages clause is reasonable. For example, if one party, like a seller of goods, is using a form contract that the buyer must take or leave, a disproportionate liquidated damages clause will most likely be considered unreasonable. However, if the parties negotiated the terms in advance of signing the contract, then the clause is much more likely to be upheld. So long as you follow the steps for enforceability, liquidated damages clauses offer some attractive benefits. They establish predictability regarding the amount of damages owed for a contract breach, and the parties are able to weigh the benefits of entering into the agreement against possible damages in the event of a breach prior to entering into the contract. Additionally, the non-defaulting party won't have to prove actual damages, which may be time-consuming and difficult depending on the circumstances. When done properly, deciding on damages at the outset gives the parties the ability to settle on an amount that they think is fair, instead of leaving this decision to the courts. This may be very beneficial, considering that the time and uncertainty involved with litigation is also time-consuming and costly. Always be sure to work with an attorney in your jurisdiction in order to draft a proper liquidated damages clause that will work for your particular situation. If you found this video helpful, click on the like button below. Also, to stay up to date with our most recent content, be sure to click on the subscribe button as well. As always, I hope this helps.